Okay, welcome back. Now, let's talk about making these suckers work real good. That's the technical term, real good. So I'm going to start by messing with, that's another technical term, the two campaigns that we built together last week. And so we can see them here in the Hyros. All right, here's one. And this is like, again, we just kind of saw this earlier. Here's one for our date range right here. So this is when we built them. And both of these have done pretty good, and we can see that our one where we had 20 different audiences and we were testing that classic method, that worked pretty good. Everything's still at $5 a day. All right. I let Hyros sit too long, so it's refreshing everything. Let's see if we're still for the same date range. We are. Good. All right. So everything's still, as you can see, at $5 a day over here in this big campaign. And it's also still at $5 a day in this other campaign where we're just targeting 4 audiences, but they're just like literally, everybody between 34 and 55 across these different countries and stuff. So as you can tell, some of these audiences worked pretty good and made us a bunch of money, and some of them didn't. So the question is, well, what do we do? Now, obviously, the ones where we turned a profit, we want to scale these. And the ones where we didn't turn a profit, we want to turn some, but not all of them off. And the first thing I want to do is talk to you about scaling. All right, so there's 2 types of scaling. There is vertical. Let me get my pen working here. Okay, there's vertical. Man, that's a super pen. And then there is horizontal. All right, and so vertical scaling means this. We have an audience that works. So let's say it's this audience right here, wealth. We've made a 2,400% ROI, 25x ROAS. Ridiculous. Totally didn't think that audience would work, by the way. Just guessed. Sometimes you just pull them out of your ear and they work. What do you know? Okay, spent freaking $37 and made $954. I'll take it. Is this going to hold forever? No, but I definitely want to scale this. So an example of vertical scaling is where we take an audience, all right, one audience, and we just start adding to the budget every day. So instead of $5, I go up to $10. And then tomorrow I go up to $15. The next day I go to $20. Next day I go to $30, etc. Right? And so that's an example of vertical scaling. An example of horizontal scaling is where I take this audience, right? So what was it? Wealth, right? So I take that wealth audience. And one example is where I build a new campaign and I duplicate it. But instead of using that bidding strategy, I use a different bidding strategy. And if you remember, I told you there were like the components, the building blocks of ads. So some of those building blocks are a bidding strategy. So I could just duplicate a new campaign or create a new campaign with this audience, and I could use a new bid strategy. So I'll put this strategy, right? And or I could use a new ad or creative. It's the same term, by the way, same thing. Creative ad is the same thing. So instead of a video ad, I could use an image ad, right? Another way to define horizontal scaling is I keep finding more audiences that work, right? So here's what's definitely going to happen. All right, let's say we have this one audience, wealth, all right, and let's say I start scaling this thing up and I get it to like $100 a day or whatever, and I'm in between like, just adding to the budget in this campaign for this audience right here, and between like building another campaign, where's my whiteboard, building another campaign where I'm using a different strategy, like a cost cap strategy, and or building another campaign where I'm, using that audience with a different ad, like a video ad instead. Let's say I get that one audience to where I'm spending $1,000 a day, okay, between like both or all of these different methodologies. Eventually, this is going to stop scaling. The performance is going to go down, all right? And that's normal. That's why the very first video that I made us for this week was like, okay, look, when things quit working, here's what to do. So it's definitely going to like stop working eventually, right? It doesn't mean when it does stop working, it doesn't mean it's going to stop working forever. Like I mentioned, there's these 4 things we can do to revive it, and typically one of those 4 things always works, all right? But if we rely strictly on like just finding a handful of audiences and always scaling those, we're going to be in trouble. So another definition of horizontal scaling is we've got that audience of wealth that's working, right? So we have wealth, yay. And then we also have right here, we have HubSpot. All right. And so now we have HubSpot. This is cool. And so these two are like both so exceptionally good that the profit from these two audiences has more than made up for the combined losses of all of the other audiences, which is ridiculous, right? So like, usually it's not this dramatic. Usually when you test like 20, you might have 5 of them that turn a profit and the other 15 don't. But whatever. We could keep doing this methodology because this turned a profit. This whole test turned a profit until we found like literally, and we always really should be doing this methodology until we've got, Wealth, HubSpot, internet marketing, small business, social media. We have a lookalike audience in there, etc. Right? So when you have a gazillion different audiences and they're all at a lower budget or whatever, that's called horizontal scaling. Right? That's really a better definition of horizontal scaling. So the first thing we want to do, our first step in moving forward in terms of like, hey, what's next with this particular campaign, is we just want to do plain and simple horizontal scaling. We want to take what's working and we want to spend more money on it, and we want to take what's not working and we want to turn it off. The question becomes, how do we define what is not working? And like, it's very clear here. So this is what we've spent on this campaign in total for each one of these audiences. Remember, we built it on the 16th. Some of the ads were approved on the 16th, some on the 17th. So that's why you see a slight difference in total spend. But they're all, right in the $35 range that we've spent here. Well, some of these guys, they haven't made any sales at all. So obviously we're going to turn these guys off, right? Like, duh, we want to turn that off. So the reason why is because they just didn't work. But some of them did, okay? And so on the ones that did, we need to look and be like, okay, is my cost per sale, is that acceptable? All right? So for this one, no. So if you remember from our last week together, I was like, I know over time these guys are worth about $35 in 30 days. So this one's not, this one's not, this one's not, this one's not, this one is. This one's great. I had 2 sales. Just no one took an upsell. That's okay. It doesn't mean that audience sucks. It's just nobody took an upsell. It was only 2 sales, so whatever. We're all set there. That's fine. So this one's good. This one's good. This one is good, and this one's real good, right? $12 to get a customer, I'll take it. Shoot, people are paying more than $12 just to get a webinar registered. I got a buyer. Not only did I get a buyer, I got 3 buyers, right? They just didn't take any upsells yet. So that's how you determine who you should scale in terms of which budgets. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just adjust the budgets on these now. So the first thing I'm going to do is because I'm using Hyros and Hyros data is not matching up with Facebook data, which is normal, I'm only trusting Hyros here. All right, I'm going to look at the ones that don't work, and I'm just going to go back and forth, then turn the ones off that need to be turned off. So I'm going to turn all of these off. I'm just going to do it over here. I'm just not going to make you watch me do it because it's going to be boring. Because I literally have to go like, okay, content marketing, marketing strategy, online advertising. Okay, content marketing, marketing strategy, online advertising. Okay, those get turned off. All right, and so I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll turn them off. But I'll pause the recording so I have to watch that because that's a real sleeper. There we go. Okay, so what I've done is I just took all the ones that we're going to turn off, and I just have them check marked over here in my ads manager. So all you do is once you put the check mark by them, you just come over here, and I'm going to say turn off. All right, and I'm going to hit publish, and that's just going to turn off all these ones that aren't any good, because why spend however much money that is every day when they're not making us any money? That's silly. All right, there's one thing I do want to point out, which is this guy right here. So HubSpot is getting me customers at more than I'm willing to pay per customer, but it's doing it at a profit. So I'm cool with that. I'm going to leave it running, But if it hadn't made money here, then I would be turning this one off. It just happens to be profitable. So I'm like, okay, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm like, I'm watching you, HubSpot. Now look at all these guys. Like I've only spent 30 something dollars per ad set. So if we look at this whole test, I tested 20 different audiences. I spent $737.23 over the course of a week, a little bit more, give or take, right? So, pretty sweet. I actually turned a profit, which is awesome. And I've got these audiences that work. All right. So if I look here now, I can even delete these if I want to, which I think I will. I'm just going to delete the ones that didn't work because there's no point in having them in here. That'll make it cleaner. All right. So now I've got these 7 ad sets left. So now, my ad expense has gone from $100 a day for this campaign down to $35 a day, which is good. So now what do I do with these guys? Well, I'm going to raise the budgets on them. And so here's the thing about raising the budgets. There are multiple ways you can do it. If you want to do it like the safest way, then I would raise this thing 25% per day until it breaks. All right. And when it breaks, I would leave it alone for 3 days and then see if it doesn't improve, and I would do this with the understanding that not all of these over the next, $35 in spend per audience, they're not all going to remain profitable. Some of them might crap out on you, and that's totally normal. That's fine. So in this case, if we raise a $5 budget by 25% per day, we're going to go from $5 to $6. So I'm just going to double it, and I'm going to go to $10 here. All right. So I'm just going to come over here. I'm selecting them all, and I'm going to click on Edit. All right. And because they all have the same budget now, I can literally just change the budget of each one of them from $5 to $10. All right. So that one is now going to be doubled. Okay. So we've doubled this one. All right. So right now we are vertically scaling this campaign because we're just getting rid of the stuff that doesn't work and we're just increasing the daily spend for the audiences that do. All right. So the next thing we want to do is we want to address this other campaign, which was this one with all these big ass audiences in there, right? So this one, let's see if it, oh good, it did us right. Yeah, sometimes it'll like show the wrong ad sets here. So if we look at this one, okay, that's this campaign right here, super broad demo. All right, this one, like, it did okay. I mean, actually, it did pretty good. We didn't turn a profit on it, but we only quote unquote lost $10, and we ended up getting 6 sales in total. So we're out $10, and we got 6 new customers, and we know that over time these guys spend about $35. So we're probably going to turn a profit on this over the next 30 days. That's good. But what do we do with it? Well, we turn off the stuff that didn't work. So in this case, we look and we're like, okay, this one, we spent $40 here, and this is everybody in the U.S. And unfortunately, this test didn't work out that well. We ended up spending $40 per sale. So, I think we'll turn that off. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to turn this one off because, hey man, it didn't work. Wish it would have, but it didn't. So what are you going to do? Alrighty. We could always try again with a different ad. But in this case, I'm going to leave her off. Okay, so we're going to do this one with the UK. Man, United Kingdom, these guys were great. We paid $13 per sale, and man, they were worth $37 right out of the gate. What should we do with these folks? Well, we're going to double the budget on them. All right, and then we are going to double the budget on Canada. We didn't make money on Canada, but look, we're getting customers for $19. All right, so I'm willing to pay $25. I don't care, so because that's still going to be awesome for me. So if I'm getting them at 19, all right, I don't mind. I know I'm going to make money in 30 days, statistically speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scale these guys too. And for this other one, Australia, nobody in Australia bought. Right, so Australia, man, they just did not respond to this at all. So I'm going to turn off Australia right here. Okay, so where are you? Oh, I already turned off Australia. I'm going to turn off US. My dang vision is bad. All right, so these are the ones that didn't produce for us, unfortunately. And these guys, I'm just going to double the budget. That's it, And so I'm going to turn this guy, I've got them both clicked over here. And I'm just going to click on budget right here. And I can do it this way, or if I just wanted to click the big edit button, I can just do it all in one fell swoop. I'm going to go from 5 to 10. All right, and I'm going to let these two run, all right, for like another $40 worth. All right, so I'm going to let them run for another 4 days and see what happens. I'm going to do that with both of these campaigns. All right, so now these 2 campaigns right here, I've gotten rid of the bad stuff and I've doubled the budgets on the good ones. And I'm going to let them run another 4 days because that'll spend $40, you know, and like technically I want to spend $35 per ad set to see what happens, but it's, you know, a day and a half or whatever. I don't know. It's too hard. So I'll just, you know, do 4 days and we'll see what happens over the course of these 4 days when we've done this for these guys. But we are not done. Okay. So what we've done here is we've simply vertically scaled these. We also want to test horizontal scaling for these guys. All right. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to horizontally scale these 2 campaigns. All right. And then in other videos, I'll show you like all these other campaigns I built and just sort of how to clean them up to give you more data, you know, because I know you're going to build more than 2 campaigns in your life, right? But for now, let's keep the ball rolling and we'll do horizontal scale in our next video.